Hello friends, this is Dr. Amarjit Kaur, Professor of Accounting and Business Communication at the Department of Management. So this is the new series we are beginning today, and I'm very hopeful that you will find this series very useful to you. So friends, as the title is Financial Management, so before I talk about financial management, let's spend few minutes to understand what is finance. I'm sure each one of you would have heard this word finance in day-to-day life. Irrespective you are student of financial management, you are student of commerce, management, science, or you are not studying, even then you would have heard this word finance, commonly used into day-to-day life. It means it is such an important word and term to understand and the area to learn about. So finance, as we know, is the most preferred domain when it comes to studying, and it is very much important for organizations as well. It's just not the area which everybody wants to study in his or her career, but it's also very important to the businesses, to the organizations, be it NGO, be it Gurdwara or Mandir, everywhere, or to an RWA of a society. So everywhere finance is important, so it's that much important. So the term finance needed to be explored before we talk about financial management. So finance is provision of money when required. It has three components in it: requirement, receipt and disbursement. So friends, the term is provision of money when required. So I am emphasizing upon two words. One is provision, of course, of money, and second is when we require. So we shall be able to provide for the money when required. Let's say if I want to buy a car today, I should know that my car is going to amount this much, when it comes to its cost. I should have that money to pay for that car I intend to buy today, or maybe 10 months from now or 10 years from now, right? So is true in business as well. So is true for anybody in personal life. Somebody wants to study, for studying he or she need to pay the fees. So he or she need to manage that he has or she has that much fund to pay the fees for, when he or she has to get the admission, right? So when it is required, we should be able to provide for. And when it is required, I need to assess that how much do I need. Requirement is also important. So that's why we say there are three components in the finance. One is requirement, then the second is receipt, the actual money should be available, and then finally dispersing. I should be knowing that how much should I disperse immediately or in future, on how many parts, how many installments. So three things: requirement, receipts and disbursement. They come together, when it comes to the term finance. So when I say requirement, so I should be able to know exactly how much would I need for what purpose. For purchase of raw material, a business need to know how much raw material he or the business is going to purchase, and the purchase guy, he or she has to procure. Basis on that, he or she will assess the amount of finance required, right? Then the second thing, the purchase guy will understand that where would he or she get that much money from. Either from the previous sales, how this much money is, or has he or she got the budget to buy that much material. So receipts means the actual arrangement of money, and then finally disbursement. When I have purchased from supplier who has supplied me raw material, I can try to delay the payment as much as possible, which means I can try to get the credit as much as long period as I could manage to bargain for, right? So that's how the disbursement is also important. So the three things together, they become finance. Now this finance can be divided into public finance and private finance, two things. So what is public finance? So when the finance, the requirement, receipt and disbursement, these three things are primarily, in a broader way, they are dilated by government institutions, central government or state government, then it is known or taken as public finance, right? So, requirement, receipt and disbursement by any of the government institution in the world is basically taken as public finance. Or, so when I say government institution, it comprises both central as well as state. Okay. So, if the state government is working on understanding how much would it need to run a program against AIDS, right, awareness about AIDS or awareness about polio or actual polio drops distribution. So, any kind of such thing, then state government is assessing that how many people are there in the state out of the total percentage of the population of the state, how many are children, how many are below 1 year, how many are below 1 month, etc., etc., right? What is the percentage of population growth in that state, because we are assessing today. By the time we make our assessment, we will have newborns added in the population, right, if we are planning for polio drops. So, state government need to assess the requirement. After that, the government will think where we get this money from, the receipts. Of course, the primary source for any state government is of the taxes we pay, the all kind of taxes the state government collects or the central government collects. The primary source for any government is through taxes, and then of course they go for loans, they go for issuing debentures, they go for issuing treasury bills, etc., etc. Those are the receipts. So, which particular source would be used to fund that requirement? This requirement could be for anything. And then finally, how that money would be dispersed, when would the disbursement will happen? The government tenders, people who are into construction, they know the tender is there, they fill the tender and then they get the contract, and then the release of payment is basis on the progress in the completion of work. So could be true for some other thing, but it may not be true for a polio drop abhiyan, because in that case maybe everybody which is whosoever is involved is the government employee and they are the one. So, it is not anybody outside, but it could be a wing of the health ministry of the state government. In that case, the health ministry may be spending money and the state government would would be settling accounts with the health government. It could be this could be a possibility, but there could be a guideline or a provision about the disbursement, that 50% would be dispersed when the final proposal is approved by the committee, and then thereafter they will procure the polio, and next 30% will be issued maybe 10 days before or maybe at the day of the polio abhiyan, and last 20% would be, or last 10% could be released at the successful completion report being submitted by the health department. So, it could be any such provision. I am just giving this as an example. I hope you understand. So, all these three actions, requirement, receipt and disbursement, undertaken by any government institution, be it central or state, is actually taken as public finance. Now, coming to private finance. The private finance comprises three parts in it: personal finance, business finance and finance for NGOs. Now, let me talk about these three part of private finance in detail. So, personal finance. Personal finance means if I or you as individual, if we plan for requirement, receipt and disbursement of money. I was taking an example of buying a car. It could be buying a house. It could be, getting married. So, you may need or going for an international or national trip, right? For everything you need finance. So, assessing the requirement, or even such a small thing like organizing a birthday party. So, assessing that how much would I need to organize my birthday party, where would I get the funds from, and how would I pay, like when would I pay, how much in percentage in advance, how much at the time of function, or before the function, like that. So, if any individual makes an assessment of requirement, receipt and disbursement, three functions for any personal event or task is taken as personal finance. Business finance, same three function, receipt, requirement, receipt and disbursement undertaken by any business entity is taken as business finance. And we can further divide the business finance into three parts: proprietorship finance, partnership finance and corporate finance. Proprietorship means when an individual owner of a firm, he manages or he plans for requirement, receipt and disbursement, it will be taken as proprietorship finance. When a partnership firm, so basically we are talking about organizational structure, right? So when partners or a partnership firm decides about these three aspects of money or funds, it will be taken as partnership finance, which is of course requirement, receipt and disbursement. Same thing, those three aspects of money or funds are managed by a company, a corporate, which is either a public company or a private limited. In both the ways, it will be taken as corporate finance. So, thus as a syllabus, as a content or as a discipline, when we study financial management, we generally, study all the rules, all different topics under the purview of corporate finance, because gradually we will be progressing in this subject, in this discipline. So, everything is basically all the fundamentals, all the principles which we are going to discuss in future are going to more closely related to corporate finance, which does not mean that they are not true for personal finance or other form of business, but they are primarily discussed for a bigger, for wider organization, for large organizations, for corporations, and that's why we call it as corporate finance. And most of the universities and colleges would have this as a separate subject, corporate finance. So, financial management and corporate finance, they are primarily there in most of the business administration degrees, be it masters or be it undergrads, or either in commerce as well. So, the third is under public finance, finance for NGOs, non-government organizations, the organizations which do not work for money, they are non-for-profit organization, non-government organization which do not intend to make money. Even there, we need to have the finance function being taken care of well, for to ensure the sustainability of those NGOs, those non-for-profit organizations, right? Even they need to worry that how and when would they require money, how much would they require for any social cause, how would they receive that money, and who would be the sponsor for that money, and then how that money would be dispersed, the fund disbursement. So finance for NGO is equally important. So these are the three various aspects of finance under the public finance. Now coming to the meaning of financial management. So once we have understood what finance is, let me talk about financial management. Financial management is the backbone of everybody's successful organization. Everybody, be it individual and any successful organization, regardless of their size, age, origin or industry, and it comprises a range of processes and techniques designed to efficiently manage financial resources of an organization. Let me explain it to you. Irrespective the corporate is 1 year old or 100-year old. So, we have a couple of companies in the world which are there in the list of 500 fortune companies, and they are now more than 100 years old, right? And there are companies which around us which are just they just came up, or be it a startup even for that matter. So that is the age, 100-year or 1 year old is the age of the corporate or the company. Size, it could be, a company may have a capitalization or market share of X amount, and then another may have the Y amount, and the difference between X and Y could be extensive, huge. And irrespective the business is working in a cement industry or power or electricity or electronics or any other financial sector, whichever sector they may be. And also irrespective the company is from North America, South America, Asia, South Asia, any continental or Australia. So any continent, irrespective of the size, age, origin, industry, everywhere financial management is required and is taken as a backbone for any organization to become successful and stay successful. And it comprises many processes, many techniques. We are going to discuss gradually over next few couple of sessions, that all those processes and techniques, the range of processes and techniques, they are designed to efficiently manage financial resources of any organization, right? So financial management is the process of planning, organizing, controlling and reporting on an organization's financial resources. It's all about monitoring, controlling, protecting and reporting financial resources, right? So as I said, as the slide was shown to you, it says, it reads like that. It's a process of planning, right? Number one, we plan for what? Funds, of course. Organizing, then to ensure that we do have the funds available, and controlling and reporting. We do control that finance function and then we report. So all the financial resources, the company may have assets, fixed long-term assets, company may have liquid assets, be it the bank balance, be it tradable securities, be it cash balance, be it any other such thing, right? So financial management is the process where we plan, organize, control and report all the financial resources of a business. And by monitoring it, by controlling it, by protecting it and certainly by reporting whenever we require. So in a broader way, we call it as it's an art and science of managing money in the simplest way to understand it better. So financial management is the art and the science both. I will explain in future that how it is art and science, right? We all know what art is, and science has to have certain scientific rules, certain rules which could be replicated, which could, irrespective of the situation, we could apply it in the same way. So that's only then it is going to be science. So so art requires skills. So it has both skill and the principle, the scientific principles involved in it in financial management. So management of finance is the function in any organization, is very important, and it deals with provision of money when required. As I said, we should be able to provide money. That's what finance is. And financial management deals with all the three aspects of finance: requirement, acquiring and disbursement of money or the funds. We may use any such thing, right? So with this discussion, I believe you can understand that the financial management is having 5 A's, to understand what financial management is. To put it in another way, we call it as 5 A's of financial management. So what are those 5 A's? 1 is anticipation, 2 is acquisition, 3 is allocation, 4 is appropriation and 5 is assessment. So let me explain these 5 A's to you now. So first is anticipation. So anticipate means what? I want to anticipate, I anticipated, she anticipated. These are the words we everyday use. So it means assessing. Anticipation means making an anticipation, making an assessment that how much funds would be required in future. How do businesses do that? By following or by making budgets. Budgets are prepared, capital budget, so we call it as capex budget or opex budgets. So capital budgets or operational budgets are made by businesses where they anticipate, where they assess in advance, where they forecast that I would need this much money for, let's say, procurement of raw material, this much money to pay for salaries, this much money to buy a new plant, this much money to buy a new car for the general manager, this much money to rent out a new property, this much money to pay the rent of the premises I will be using, this much money I need for expansion, this much money I need for traveling. I have given just a couple of 7-8 examples to you. Everywhere, these are just few examples. The actual expenditure is, their heads could be in hundreds for companies of a large size, right? So for all those heads, we need to anticipate that how much money would I need for these heads. That's what the first A is about. The second A is about acquisition. Then that actually acquiring the money. A business may generate funds from its own operations. That is the best source of acquiring money, right? Through business operations. So that's why when we prepare cash flow statements, we say how much cash has been generated by business operations, how much through financing, and how much from investing. So what does it mean? When I say acquisition of funds through operation, that is the best source. How? So operations means what? The sale of any good or service I deal in as a business. So if I am in the sale of televisions, my primary source of funds should be sale of those TVs, right? If I am providing services, my primary source of cash or generation or the fund generation should be sale of that service, right? Which means that this is the first category, this is the best or the good quality source of cash generation. So that is the acquisition point, right? But the business can actually acquire by selling the old furniture. So that would be through, or by selling a building too. So that would be acquisition of funds by disposing of any asset, right? That is also a way. So we call it as investing activity. But nevertheless, there is another category. A business may acquire funds by issuing an IPO or by issuing debentures or by taking a loan, right? So I gave you three different examples of acquisition. One was through operations, business operations, through the regular source of activity. Second is through investing. Third was from financing, the broad area. There are so we can have many heads under all these three main heads. So as a business, if I am managing as a finance guy, as a finance manager, if I am looking at all those possibilities of acquiring funds, and that action, that part would be taken as second A, acquisition. That how, where would I acquire the funds for requirement. Then comes allocation. Again, for allocation in businesses are allocation. So you acquired X amount, let's say 100 crore has been acquired through operations or through sale of building or issue of debentures. So we acquired, we know the source of acquisition. Now next is those 100 crores are going to be divided in many functions, right? First of all, we have, let's say we have 20 departments and every department has its own products. So let's say there are 10 products in each department they are selling or dealing in. So there are 200 products. Now allocation of funds could be department wise, it could be product wise, it could be market wise, it could be basis on the the head of the department, I mean his or her presentation and demand and justifications, or the plan strategy to promote, I mean to grow, where which area we think as a strategy is is having bright future or better future or giving me more margins. So it's not simple, it's not that I have 100 crore and I will give equally, it's not possible, it is not recommended at all. We have to have justification that where and how I would divide these 100 crore rupees, right? So that 100 crore is going to be divided and that is taken as third A of financial management, allocation. right? The fourth A is appropriation. So what is that? The appropriation is providing for, appropriating is actually, assigning. Appropriate is actually distribution. So in allocation we are conceptually or theoretically we are assigning money to different products or people or departments or areas, etc. And in appropriation we are actually distributing the money, right? So we have to make appropriation plan as well, that this much on day one, this much, let's say we know that every first of the new month the business has or department has to release the salary, right? So so the finance guy has to ensure on 30th the funds are available. So that appropriation is on, so salary should be appropriated on first, but there could be some other expense, rent for example can be appropriated on 7th of the next month or in advance, right? So this is fourth A. The last A is assessment, that we have to make an, basis on the experience, we have to make an assessment of the future. So this is a cycle which keeps on going, and these are the 5 A's of financial management. So with this I would like to wind up, friends, and I hope you understood that what is financial management, what is finance for that matter, and what are the 5 A's of financial management. With this I would like to sign off. Thank you very much.